Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before I do begin, let me just say something. Now, this one will come as a bit of a surprise for one of my viewers, since he's currently doing this storyline. Now, I've talked about doing this as a storyline before, and I want to try and give myself an attempt at it right now, because I do have plans for certain powers and another storyline at the moment, and I want to give this a bit of a test drive using this power that might be a little bit more similar in certain ways. Now then, with that being said, let me get started. Now, we'll start with Izuku Midoriya. Izuku, his life, it used to be normal, but at one point, it took a very sinister turn. Now, let us start with him at the age of 4 years old. Whenever the doctors discovered Izuku's quirk, they were kind of intrigued to learn a bit more about it. It was a rare ability. At first, they thought that he had the ability to shapeshift. However, they weren't exactly able to completely understand it. I mean, the kid started messing with his body in strange, seemingly unnatural ways. He can manipulate his hands or even turn into a miniature All Might. However, there was also questions about the conservation of mass, wherever Deku accidentally gained a little too much mass during one of his transformations. Now, people, they had a lot of questions. And when some even started seeing Deku mimic certain abilities of a specific pro, that's where they started putting a lot more things to paper. And after 3 months of testing, he finally was able to learn a bit more. However, there was one thing they discovered during their test. Deku mentioned seeing a strange light around people. And when this strange light was brought up, they were asking Deku about it. However, that is whenever the incident happened. Izuku, he accidentally killed somebody using his powers, and doctors were quite horrified. More so, however, Deku. He wasn't sure what to say, and with the fact that the doctors inside the room saw a man explode, yeah, they had to cancel everything. Deku, he was put into therapy for his event, and the doctors, they did write down something about this ability. The kid mentioned a strange light. However, when he decided to try and touch the light, that's where problems occurred. However, this was noted and filed, it eventually found its way back to the Hero Committee. Now, the Hero Committee, yeah, they have been trying to find new candidates to take Lady Nagon's space in the hole they have. Someone who can be judge, jury, and executioner if need be. Someone who can be in and out. A person who can be of many faces. Work as a pro or work in the dark. Someone to preserve the light. Someone to stay in the shadows. And whenever someone did bring this data into the committee, they were quite surprised to find out that this young boy, he has a power that they might want to explore. Deku has an ability that showed he can turn into anything. He can also turn into anyone. He was able to replicate the texture and feel of a wooden surface on his arm. Not only that, he was able to transform into a larger person than what he was. And when they weighed him, he weighed more than he should have. And then there's the incident they find the most interesting. The fact that somebody exploded when he tried to do something to their body. If they have it right, he tried to mimic someone's flesh, mold it, just like he tried to mold his own. And that's something that they want to explore. And for Inko Midoriya, she was approached by the committee about paying the fees for Deku's therapy and even potentially reimbursing her for what happened. It was a bit odd. The committee stepped in as a gesture of good faith. The doctors may have pushed the test, and Izuku, he is going to need very specialized care for not only his trauma, but for his power. They wish to push him down the right path, make sure he makes the right decisions in the future and doesn't harm people like that again. What happened was truly horrifying, and no one his age should have seen something like that in front of them, let alone be the cause of such a thing to a person. And Inko, yeah. With the fact that she's spending quite a bit of money on that and Deku is terrified of making any sort of physical contact with people, still talking a bit about these lights, and doctors are talking about putting him on strange medicines, not only for counseling, but a whole list of other things she has to deal with. Having some help, especially from the committee directly, might as well have been a godsend for her. However, that's another thing. Deku, he was taken away. They talked about putting him into a specialized care facility and her being able to visit him. All she had to do was sign on the dotted line and he would be off her hands. And Inko didn't realize how true that was. Izuku, he did seem very shaken up by the event. After almost a year from the incident, him around almost 6 years old, doctors still noticed he was wary about being in a room like this. And someone they do gonna walk over and sit down. Right now, going to put a plastic bag on the table and begin to unwrap it before pulling out a bento box. Right now, talking about it, setting it down in front of them, and then going to pull something out in front of Deku. Before he does a look at the box of food and stare at it concerned. And when the person does going to pull their hands away, Deku does glance up. Him bringing up his gloved hands, asking them, "So, what is all this?" "You must be hungry, young man. Go ahead and eat." "It's ramen. Though I did get it from a very well-known place. Right now, you may call me Mr. Yaki. I am someone who is going to be helping you. Someone in particular I feel you are going to know. Now, I have been made aware of what has happened to you. What you did. It was not your fault. The tests were being pushed and you didn't know what you were doing. It was an accident." I know. But I didn't mean to. I know. You don't have to bring it up. I'm not trying to push the issue, but your power can be useful. Can it? I hurt somebody. You hurt an innocent person, Izuku. The man going to pull up a rice ball. Him going to motion, pointing at Deku with it. He has a lot he can do with his powers. However, hurting the right people is an option. There are many heroes who have done similar things, and there are even some here who can help him. There is a man here who intends to become one of the top heroes with the training they put him through. That might still be a few years off, but they have no doubt he will rise to the top. The man glancing at Deku, going to shoot his hand out as he does a grab Deku directly by his hand. Right now him going to tell him to take the gloves off. His power can only hurt people if he wants it to. He is in control. And Deku does glare at the man with fear in his eyes. Before Deku, he does go to look at the man, his hand shaking. And when the man does go to pull his hand away, he does go to bring his own hands up, showing that they don't shake. And this does alarm him. Deku glancing at his gloves and then going to slowly take them off. Him staring at his hands before he does continue to eat. And the man, he doesn't end their session for the day by bringing a hand up to shake Izuku's. And this, it does make Deku stare at the palm, before he does get led away by security to his room. And this type of event does rinse and repeat. Deku does get more comfortable. Even them bringing in certain pros of the committee and allowing him to talk with them. He does even somewhat try to start training with his own abilities. And this, it does help reinforce certain ideas in Deku's mind. But there is when they do start to also tell Deku about the missions they do want him to take on. Making sure that real heroes can still exist. Making sure that people can do the right thing. How? If they allow pros who have bad intentions for people to let things go free, those people can get hurt. In the long run, sometimes you have to do bad things to make the world better. And Izuku, he began to learn that lesson. Over time, he started to learn how to repress that trauma, acknowledge that it was an accident. But then there currently is right now. He does just want to sit there. At the age of 14, a lot going through his mind. He is well aware as to how dangerous his quirk is, how interesting things can be. And right now, he does get to sit in a room, trying to clear his head about everything. And it certainly does seem like something to do. Right now, him going to brush something across a canvas before he does go to continue painting and just try to think about what to do. It's become a new hobby of his. He likes pictures, likes drawing. The committee has given him a notebook, but there's not really much he can put in there. The walls are a little bit barren, and he does like puzzles too. But he's not really trying to think about what to paint. He just put down some colors and tried to see what he could do with them. There's not much that you can do on a white canvas. There's possibilities, but then there's also a black canvas. You would have to paint in white on that one. It is an interesting idea. But what can you really do? Deku going to dip his brush in some of the red paint. And he does continue to try and put more down, dabbing it slowly before he does get a somewhat back away, staring at it and trying to think. Before he does go to hear the sound of a door open, turning and asking, "Mr. Yagi, Exactly what can I do for you today? Yes, the committee has a mission for you, Izuku. Are you up for it? Does it involve my powers? Yes, but we believe it would also be good for you to start doing some routine patrols. Now, how do you feel about that? Getting some air? Having a little bit more leeway. Not having a guard? I'm fine with that. Listen, I'm in the middle of something right now, and I'm just trying to think. I see. Well, the committee would also like you to take on a mission. Really? Yes. Hunting down a very dangerous hero. He's been deemed villainous. I see. I can handle him then. Him walking over to the table and going to stare at the red paint on the back of his hands. Before he does, gonna pick it up and nonchalantly go to start reading. And the man does go to leave. Deku taking 10 minutes to read it and then going to set it down. Turning and making his way over to the sink and going to rinse his hands clean. Before he does go to leave. And we do have later that night. The sun went down, and the hero, he was in a little bit of trouble for an incident that happened earlier that day. He got into a fight with his sidekick. And right now, he just needs to blow off a bit more steam after work. It's gonna suck, but he's gonna be getting off late and blah, blah, blah. Then again, he's got some free time and he does have a few ideas for what to do there. Him looking around. It's a bit boring. Though he might get some action today if crime does like to play up with the night. So, maybe tonight might not be a total loss. This going through his head. And there is where he does go to hear the sound of flapping wings. Looking up as right now, he does go to watch as some glowing blue eyes do to stare down at him. And he does go to completely freeze in his tracks. Up in the sky, there's a creature with completely dark skin. No, for a second, it matches the night. But then he does stare at its wings. And that they do go to somewhat stand out. Large, black, leathery wings. And it does open its mouth. A massive roar shooting free of it. And this, it does go to bellow out into the night as the man, he does watch the creature start to flap its wings, flying down. Right now the creature going to extend its massive legs as a crash onto the roof of a car. And the man does a turn, immediately bolting for an alleyway, not sure what the fuck that is. He's not sure if that's a person, if that's someone on some sort of fucking drug like trigger, or what the hell it is. That guy is on something, and he doesn't want to stick around to find out exactly what the hell it is. He just needs to get away. Right on him, bolting down the other way. And there is where he does a run across the street and go to turn. Right now looking over his shoulder and going to take a breath. Before something does go to shoot down and grab into his shoulder. Him being ripped up into the air as a tendril, it does a shoot down and wrap around the man's throat. It covering his mouth as he's pulled upwards. And the creature, it does go up and up and up. Right now them going to crash onto a building as he does a turn. Watching as Deku, he does go to stand and go to stare. His body beginning to shift back and morph back into that of a human. and he does it to watch as a kid in a dark black hoodie does begin to stand there. Right now, him with his hand up as his body, it does extend into the tendrils. Deku holding the man up and going to express, giving him a bit of a small crooked smile. Now, they've got a lot to talk about. Sorry, I have a lot to talk about. You failed being a pro. The committee wants you gone. And well, him going to hold up his left hand. Him going to have it begin to turn into a drill. And whenever it does begin to start spinning, the man, his eyes go wide. Deku firing it forwards and punching it through the man's chest. And the man, he does begin to try and spasm out and fight against it. Before Deku, he does go to drop the man dead to the ground and go to turn. Right now, wings begin to manifest out of his back as he does go to turn looking at the man. He's fairly certain the committee will be able to pick him up soon. Cleanup is not his job. Looking down at his hands, him going to let the blood drip free of his left hand before he does go to shake it away and go to fly up into the air with a lot going through his mind about potentially who his next target could be or what he could do. With his powers, he intends to be a pro, a good one. But there's also the idea of continuing to work for the committee. Lay low a little bit more. See about how things can do. And there is the next day. Deku, he is walking down the road. He has a bag in his hand and people are talking about a lot of things. A group of people walking by Deku as he does go to bring his hand up and wave to them. Them going to nod their heads in his direction and go to smile. Him making his way past and turning, stepping into an apartment complex as he does make his way up to a specific room. And he does go to knock on the door. A woman does get to answer. Inko seeing Deku and going to step forward, wrapping him into a hug. Before he does, gonna bring his hands up and wrap them around her, giving her a smile and talking about how he's back. Sorry, tests the last couple weeks have been running a little off and, well, he just had a lot to do. That's fine, Izuku. Your room's the same way you left it. Though I would have been happy if you called. Sorry, Mom, sorry. The committee are kind of strict about a few things, and, well, I do have some leeway. My phone doesn't really work in their buildings. Private government stuff. You know that it's sensitive. Her annoyed. Though she does clap her hands together over Deku does go to bring up the bag of sweets in his hand. Her talking about it. This is good. She can get something put on. And, well, she can make a bit of a small feast for them. It is a good way to welcome him home. Him nodding. Walking over and going to sit down. And the committee, they do go to have Mr. Yaki get into contact with Deku. His phone going to buzz with a message. And whenever it does get to do so, he does go to look at it. Right now, seeing the item, confirming what he did. Along with talking about how details will follow soon about a possible next target. Since it does seem like a lot of these guys are being found. And, well, no word has been brought up about the pro who went missing last night. Though a further search is currently ongoing. And Izuku, he does go to put his phone away and wait. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next mini shot.